just want to thank everybody, first of all, for joining, as usual. This is going to be a very, very exciting AMA. Lido is definitely, you know, no stranger to the DeFi space, especially that on Ethereum. So really excited to have you guys on today. As you already know, most likely, I am Hunter, the community manager over here at Offchain Labs, building Arbitrum. I'm also joined co-hosting today's space by Peter, who is business development over here at Offchain Labs as well. How's it going, Peter?
Hey, thanks so much for having me, and great to meet you all.
Lovely. And we're, of course, joined by the Lido team. Justin over here, rocking sick PFP, by the way. And, of course, waiting on Keth from their side.
Yeah, thank you. Shout out the Base Schools NFT project team. Yeah, I am Justin. I'm business development and partnerships at Lido, and I'm generally responsible for bringing wrap staked ETH to layer 2 networks, as well as DeFi partnerships in general. So if you are working with a DeFi project and want to get in touch with the Lido team, DM me.
Awesome. What's Keth's role? As in, like, I mean, we could like slowly get into things. I'm not sure if
Keth Finex is I guess the director of community management. He is responsible for marketing across all of our owned media channels.
Okay, my counterpart. Yeah, I feel bad starting with that, and
then. Well, I'm sure he'll catch up.
Great. In that case, then maybe, like, honestly, some very light combo I think would be great around. Maybe just for those who don't know, maybe giving an overview of like what Lido is, and maybe even some reasoning on why Lido like needs to exist generally.
Sure. Well, our sort of very straightforward spiel about what Lido is at a high level is that we're a multi-chain liquid staking solution. What that means is for networks that operate on proof of stake consensus mechanism for securing the network and processing transactions. In order to participate in securing that network and enjoying the rewards that the network provides, there is some level of technical barrier to entry to operating a node on that network. What Lido does is to provide basically a simple and secure way to participate in the consensus mechanism without needing to lock up your tokens or maintain hardware or software infrastructure yourself. Basically, we have a pretty large set of very professional validators who will operate nodes on your behalf with your assets. And while you enjoy the rewards generated, you can also use our derivative tokens, the ST assets, in a variety of sort of rich DeFi strategies, whether that's integrations with DeFi protocols that allow options trading or leverage or borrowing or lending, or simply providing liquidity on a decentralized exchange. Basically, Lido's ST assets enable you to enjoy the benefits of participating in staking, being a good participant in the network that you're of your choice, while also enjoying all the really cool and exciting opportunities that DeFi makes available.
No, that's great. And I think it would be also helpful for the audience if you can share a little bit more about, P2P Validator and, the relationship that P2P Validator has with Lido as well.
Absolutely. So P2P.org is it's sort of an enterprise level node operator validator organization. They originally incubated the Lido liquid staking contracts for Ethereum. and continue to play a role in um, maintaining those from a technical standpoint. They also now maintain the Lido on Solana staking contracts as well. But at this point, they are one of the many sort of uh, entities that are stakeholders in the Lido DAO and the Lido ecosystem, along with all of the other validator partners that we have that are in our node operator cohorts on the various networks, as well as other external um, software development teams that contribute to the project. You can think of Lido DAO as it's actually a really, really interesting DAO structure because we are a huge set of individual contributors, individual investor stakeholders, and basically, companies and development shops from all over the crypto universe that participate in um, keeping this all alive. Um, but yeah, p2p.org was super instrumental in bringing Lido to life in its original form.
No, that's great, and I think you guys have done a fantastic job of that. I was just personally a little curious, and then Hunter, you feel free to chime in. But also, like, how do you guys kind of choose the validators that participate in the Lido network?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
a couple of times a year, we um, solicit or welcome applications to become a part of the validator set on various networks, and it's not all done at once. It's done, Ethereum at this time, Solana at this time, and on and on. I'm probably not the best person to give you specifics on the actual selection process and onboarding process. That would be Izzy, who's our master of validators, and he has done a couple of really fabulous talks that have been recorded, and I will try to tweet one or two of them out after this conversation if anybody is interested in really kind of diving into that rabbit hole. Um, but essentially, Lido has basically a perfect track record of not having any negative events, um, such as slashing events on any of the nodes that participate in the Lido ecosystem, and that's because of the really high standard and quality control that we um, sort of have put in place across all of our node operators. Um, we also continue to do research on best practices in node operation on each of the networks that we engage on. So, um, our goal is always in the end to work towards having a permissionless validator set where any individual can onboard themselves and run nodes that contribute to the Lido liquid staking ecosystem. That is a very, very complex and difficult thing to build out while also maintaining sort of the standards that we have and ensuring the sort of safety of everybody's funds. So, in the meantime, we are doing our best to expand our node operator set um, as quickly as possible with everybody in the ecosystem in the that is qualified to do so.
That's great, and I think maybe what would be interesting to kind of expand on maybe is like, as you mentioned earlier, Lido's multi-chain. You guys are on obviously Ethereum. I think Ethereum's like was your first chain, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Uh, right there you go. I know something. And you know one thing at least. And you guys have expanded onto multiple chains since then. And more recently, of course, on the layer twos like Arbitrum One. I would love to know a little bit more about like Lido's, I guess, interest in layer two specifically, and maybe your vision for just layer two networks, your expansion onto them generally.
Yeah. We like to, when we're asked where we're based um, as a pure DAO, we like to say that we are headquartered on Ethereum, but work on all of the major proof of stake networks. So we were originally launched on Ethereum and subsequently launched on Solana, Polygon, Terra, pre-collapse, Polkadot, and Kusama. We're working on a couple of other layer one networks, but I can't share what they are currently. I'm sure if you did enough digging into the public documents, you'd be able to figure out what they are. As far as our interest in layer two networks, so one of our kind of goals is democratizing access to Ethereum staking. And if you believe, as we believe, that in the fullness of time, uh, a large portion, if not the majority of economic activity in the Ethereum ecosystem is going to migrate to layer two networks that offer better transaction throughput or um, economic efficiencies. Maybe they're purpose built for different types of activities. That we need to ensure that there is access to these ST assets on these layer two networks. The first step is to bring wrap staked ETH, which is the ERC20 compliant version of STETH, rather than the rebasing version, which is just STETH, to the kind of current leader networks, layer two networks, and ensure that we are kind of fully a part of the nascent DeFi ecosystems there. That's our killer app. We like to believe that you have the optionality to engage in all of these, as I said before, really, really exciting and potentially lucrative uh, DeFi strategies. And what we see happening on Arbitrum 1 is really exciting. And we have to be there.
Totally makes sense. I mean, I'm obviously going to say that makes sense, right? Work here. But I mean, even if it wasn't for that, yeah, I mean, I think the DeFi, especially on, ever since I've been here, and I've been here since before we launched Arbitrum One, has always been like one of our really, really big focal points, and I think it's really only been growing since then. And and both from a perspective, obviously, like the classic metrics, TVL usage, etc., but also just from like an ecosystem perspective, where like we really try to make sure that I've used this analogy plenty of times before. So if you've been in many of the spaces, then I'm sorry you're going to hear it again. But like really just giving new projects that onboard themselves in Arbitrum, like that kind of like neighborhood type feel where you first move in, you kind of want to get to know like the neighborhood around you, get to know your neighbors, kind of and integrate yourself into the community rather than just kind of deploying on a chain and just kind of siloing yourself off just because there's no one there to kind of help you meet new people. I feel like as a chain that's kind of one of our main one of our main purposes in a way is kind of like aggregating community and introducing people to each other. And Lido in this case with Rapstick ETH is actually just a perfect example of how to do that.
Yeah, we feel the same way. Um, you know, Obviously, we believe very, very strongly that ST assets form a potential, really core, fundamental piece of any uh, DeFi protocol's pathway towards success. We think of ST assets as the perfect kind of units of account within a DeFi strategy, um, rather than, I guess you'd call it like naked ETH or naked Solana, because you just have the opportunity to enjoy um, the baseline rewards that you wouldn't otherwise get. So why sacrifice that? Um, and that's something that we like to push very strongly and are really excited to see developing on Arbitrum.
No, definitely. And I think maybe Peter can speak a little bit more to this, but like maybe we can speak a little more to just like how and what we saw, here at Arbitrum as the value of Lido deploying, as well as Wrap Stake ETH and how that could kind of bring value to our ecosystem.
Yeah, one thing I would say is that, from our perspective, Lido is the largest liquid staking provider that's on Ethereum today, and they have integrations with many DeFi teams, including like Turf and MakerDAO and Aave and Argent and others. And personally, I've been a big fan of Lido, and I've actually been using the product since it came out. So, to me, it was like a no-brainer when the Lido team reached out and we're wanted to talk about getting STE support on Arbitrum. I think we were all for that. So, yeah, I think that's why we're super excited to see Wrap Staked ETH come to Arbitrum today.
We appreciate it. It's been a long time coming. We certainly worked together for a long time to make this a possibility. And now that I suppose the bridges have been live for, I guess, 6 weeks almost, we're really excited to see this continue to grow together.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it'd be great if you don't mind also like kind of elaborating a little bit more on how we collaborated on bringing Wrap Staked ETH and bridging that to users on Arbitrum.
Sure, I'll give you my very non-technical overview of the process they went through together. So, originally, Lido had the intention of bringing STETH, again, the rebasing version of staked ETH, to layer 2 networks. That posed a bunch of difficult technical challenges. Rebasing assets play really badly with bridges, just kind of as a baseline. And so it was going to be a relatively complex uh, kind of bridge to build out. Uh, However, we had a spec for that we kind of worked on with the Arbitrum team. Eventually, we decided that in the interest of time and also in the interest of sort of the user experience on Arbitrum 1 to switch over to working with Wrap Staked ETH, which is, I guess, if I can give like a brief overview, Wrap Staked ETH is a token that represents STETH that continues rebasing in our wrapper contract. So it is designed to drift in price up as rewards accrue to the underlying STETH. What that allows us to do is offer our users a version of the token that doesn't have any of the sort of accounting difficulties that you get with a rebasing token if you have specific tax um, guidance in whatever jurisdiction you may or may not pay taxes in. It's also much, much easier to integrate into most DeFi protocols. For example, Uniswap simply doesn't work with rebasing tokens, but it does work with the wrapped version of STETH. So we decided to work on that, and in partnership with the Arbitrum team, we were able to build out a custom bridge implementation that will allow us to have a lot of flexibility in the future to build out, for example, native staking contracts on Arbitrum 1, which would allow a user to take ETH that they have on Arbitrum and stake it directly into Lido and receive their STETH or Wrap Staked ETH back without having to bridge back to mainnet. That's our ultimate goal. It'll take a long time for us to build that out because that's a bit more complicated than building out the bridge. But as I said, about 6 weeks ago, Wrap Staked ETH is now available to bridge in both directions using the native bridge, which is a really big success to us.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I remember originally we were kind of talking about, does it make sense to have this custom token gateway with the rebasing token, or going with Wrap Staked ETH? But I think for a lot of people, Wrap Staked ETH is already on Ethereum today. It's like when you stake your ETH and you get STETH, you can go and wrap it on Ethereum. And so I think it makes a lot of sense for what you guys are doing, and I'm also pretty excited to see the native staking come as well.
Yeah, and if I can sort of add a couple more comments, our rewards budget for November was just made public earlier today, I believe. And if you look at that, you'll see that we are starting to migrate some of our STETH liquidity over to, further over into Wrap Staked ETH liquidity on mainnet. Again, because it's just a easier token for DeFi protocols and often for users to work with as well. Now, there's a place for both versions of the asset, certainly, and there are different DeFi applications that work better with one or the other. So our job is to ensure that there's adequate liquidity for any type of integration to be successful.
I'm like just waiting for like GMX or Mycelium to just enable me to go like leverage long or like leverage short. Never short, always long.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be really awesome to see that happening, and we certainly have every intention of deep partnerships with both of those teams and other teams, right? That will offer a variety of different ways to take leverage positions, take long or short positions, um, keep an eye on our research form and on our especially rewards budget, because that will telegraph which protocols will have sort of co-incentives with the Lido team and the protocol itself. We can talk about later on this call what is currently live and what we can announce um, as of now, but Lido is a DAO. We do everything out in public. So if you do your research, you'll find out just as soon as anyone else does.
Maybe we can speak a little bit more about the DAO itself, as in like the LDO token as a governance token and whatnot. I mean, like, maybe you can provide us like a high level overview of kind of like how the DAO works,
Yeah.
more or less.
Yeah, we are a really, really cool organization. We are essentially a pure DAO. We don't have a top level legal entity. We do have a couple of um, kind of satellite legal entities that are used for hiring purposes. And because of that, we have a pretty active and complex governance process. Um, Major functions like the rewards committee, which governs, let's call it governance mining and incentive spend, um, is one of many high level committees that have been imbued with the power to make decisions on behalf of the DAO that sort of speed our ability to implement decisions. So we aren't a very ossified, slow moving DAO, which is wonderful. Some of the other committees that are relevant, well, we've got a Lido on X committee. We have a hiring committee, which I think is called RCC at this point. Um, we have a referrals committee. All of the kind of major functions have been broken down into these working groups, which um, manage multi-sigs and budgets and what have you. And it's a constantly evolving um, system. We have some really fabulous DAO operators, specifically Aurelius, who is our kind of head of operations, and always like to give him a really big shout out for trying to create order out of chaos. Um, but it's a really interesting one to see. So if we're to take, for example, the uh, task of mapping out a budget for LDO emissions for every month, which is what we have to do. The way that works is that each network has a sort of network administrator, generally a member of the BD team or technical team responsible for that network, that will put together a proposal for how LDO emissions will be spent over the next month. That will go to the rewards committee for review and internal ratification. They will then collate that, and that work is done by another member of our team named Carvis. And big shout out to him as well, because he does a lot of the very difficult sort of grunt work of compiling spreadsheets and keeping an eye on sort of the 30,000 foot view of our reward spend. And that will then get published in our research forum. which is research.lido.fi, where it goes through I believe, 7-day review and comment period, maybe 3-day review comment period, and then an on-chain voting period using Snapshot, and then a whole bunch of internal operational checks and balances to make sure that the LDOs get to the right multisigs and eventually into the correct gauges or partner team multisigs or whatever the um, technical implementation of rewarding user actions is for a specific protocol on a specific network. And we managed to do it pretty well, honestly. Um, but it's really interesting. We all give lip service within DeFi, especially to using smart contracts and trying to automate everything, and this concept of code is law. But in the end, all of this is built on top of real people um, who are uh, responsible for making sure that things run as smoothly as possible, and we certainly do our best. It's easy to think of DeFi as a whole bunch of contracts talking to each other, but the truth is, the beauty of these sort of smart contract platforms and crypto in general is that it allows us to create systems where everybody's incentives are aligned to collaborate, both within a DAO and in between DAOs, and this is one of those instances where um, you see really fabulous collaboration between individuals to make all of this happen for everybody.
Yeah, and I think that you guys are also a good example of a team that has a very active research forum. Like like when I went in there, I saw like a ton of activity of people participating and engaging in like thoughtful discussions. And I know that we're personally like working on doing this ourselves as well. So yeah, keep up the good work there.
Thank you. Yeah, there's no doubt that the decisions that Lido makes are relatively important to the health of the DeFi ecosystem as a whole, and we take it extremely seriously. So we are really active in soliciting participation from all types of stakeholders, whether they're companies or individuals or working groups of any kind. We really value participation. We value being challenged on our assumptions. One of the really, really cool things that, if you are interested in keeping track of what's going on in terms of DAO governance at Lido, is we have had this ongoing discussion in our research forum for the last couple of months about a dual token governance structure, which would allow holders of ST assets some governance rights. And I won't try to summarize it because it's ever moving and relatively complex, but that conversation has been sort of started and shepherded by Hasu, who is one of our strategic advisors. And it's just a really awesome way to um, just see what's possible within a DAO. I think, as far as I know, it's unprecedented, especially with a DAO and a project as large as Lido. And there are a lot of reasons for it and a lot of reasons not to do it. But we have to explore anything that would make um, our project stronger, more resilient, and serve the interests of both our LDO stakeholders, but also the Ethereum ecosystem in general, and other uh, smart contract networks as well.
Yeah, I've actually been following that pretty closely, and Hasso is doing some great work there to shepherd in some of those changes. That is, and some of it's a little controversial, but I think it's sparking a lot of good discussion in the Ethereum community, which I think is really healthy for the network as a whole. Um, I think what a lot of folks on the call would probably be interested in, and we'll get into this a bit more also towards the end of this, but it's also kind of discussing some of the integrations that you guys have been working on as far as wrap staked ETH and those use cases on Arbitrum. So it would be great to hear a little bit more from your end, Justin, on that.
I would be happy to, and I'm going to talk a lot now, So if you want a written version of this, I'm going to try to tweet out a summary as well following this spaces, because I always find it difficult to keep track when somebody just monologues about DeFi integrations and uh, on a session like this. So let's kind of give you a digest of the current state of ST or wrap state ETH on Arbitrum. The use cases that a user has right now are first bridging wrap state ETH from Ethereum mainnet to Arbitrum 1 via the native bridge, and back from Arbitrum 1 to Ethereum mainnet via the native bridge. You also have the ability to bridge back and forth LDO, which is our governance token that we mentioned before, and the token with which we are running our sort of Lido on layer 2 governance mining incentive program currently. That incentive campaign has started with incentivizing providing liquidity on a variety of decentralized exchanges on Arbitrum 1 across a variety of pairs. The current dexes that are included in the liquidity mining campaign in Arbitrum 1 are Balancer, Kyber, and Curve rewards should start early next week at the beginning of the November rewards period. But currently on Balancer, you can provide liquidity and trade across these pairs on a wrap staked ETH pair and a wrap staked ETH USDC pair. On Kyber, you can trade across and provide liquidity also on a wrap staked ETH pair and a wrap staked ETH USDC pair. Curve will be a wrap staked ETH pair as well. And each of those pools has some amount of LDO applied to it as an incentive by our team, and you may also earn Kyber network tokens or balancer tokens, depending on sort of the specifics of that network. Navigate to their websites and their apps and see for yourself. In addition to providing liquidity on those dexes, we have some yield aggregator pools that are live. That is on Arbitrum. There are beefy auto compounder vaults live for the wrap staked ETH pool on Balancer and the wrap staked ETH USDC pool on Balancer. And we certainly anticipate beefy vaults for the Kyber pools and the Curve pool when that is up and running. What else can you do? That's sort of the baseline now. And we are really happy to be able to announce, today that Premia, which is a options market on Arbitrum, has kicked off an integration with WrapSafety there that enables WrapSafety put and call options markets. And we actually have them here in this space, and I guess we can kind of call them up and start talking about the new product that they've made available as of, it was either Tuesday or Wednesday of this week.
Awesome. Yeah. Feel free to raise your hands, Premia folks. I'll make sure to bring it all up.
Yeah, we should have V Cozy and L Froggy. And don't you love referring to your coworkers with their silly Twitter handles?
I love the enthusiasm. V Cozy, I just sent you an invite. Again, make sure you're on on your phone. And I'm looking for El Froggy right now.
And I guess while we're getting that set up, let me make just another plea for anybody listening. Go look at our research forum. Look at the November incentives budget. You will see where we plan to expand our co-incentivization or incentivization campaign on Arbitrum to other protocol partners. and that will give you a preview of what's to come in November.
Dropping some alpha. I like it.
Well, it's hard to call it alpha because we really do everything out in the open. It's very, very important to us that the kind of sanctity of DAO governance stays intact for Lido. And while that can be quite inconvenient from an operational standpoint, that's how things have to be. And we believe really strongly in both the sort of philosophy and ethics of it. And that is why I won't name names, but if you look at our forum, it will name names.
Yeah, totally. Hunter, it looks like we have the Premium folks that are up here now.
Welcome. Yes. Feel free to speak your piece. If you heard you have a great incentive program, pitch us.
Thanks for having us.
Hello, hello.
What do you want us to pitch?
Just for some, people who are in the crowd who want to do anything actionable, I actually linked on the top of the space the current pools that Premia has on Rapstick ETH. If you guys maybe want to talk a little bit more about that integration that you just had with Lido, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, sure. For anybody unfamiliar, Premia is a decentralized options exchange currently available on mainnet, Arbitrum, and a few other layer twos. You can go and deposit liquidity to sell options on the exchange, kind of a way to earn yield over time if you happen to sell options that expire for less value than they were sold for. Then of course that's a profit, and that over time you can earn yield. Additionally, we provide liquidity mining rewards to all of our liquidity providers, and very much thanks to Lido. So anybody who deposits into the WST ETH pools, the wrapped staked ETH pools, will get the Premia mining rewards for the pool. In addition, we'll get Lido mining rewards in partnership with Lido. And so that's basically our most rewarding pool right now, because it gets yield in ETH from the staked Ether. It gets yield in Premia from the Premia liquidity mining. It gets yield in Lido from the Lido's partnership. And then it gets yield from selling options if it happens to sell profitable options over time, which is the case for most pools on Premia. And so we're very excited about this because it enabled us to bring yield-bearing assets to Arbitrum for options. So this just means that we can provide more liquid option markets to people who are looking to trade those options, because there's more people who will deposit into those pools because they get more yield, and therefore there's more room for more deposits, etc.
Yeah, I think just want to mention that the LDO incentives have not started yet. They should start at the beginning of the November rewards period. So hopefully the 1st or 2nd of November, which I think is Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, depending on operational speed. But we are really excited about this. Bonds are one of the really, I think, exciting but potentially underutilized DeFi money Legos. Certainly one of the types of DeFi products that we find synergizes really, really well with the sort of underlying value proposition of staked assets. Some people talk of ST as sort of like a perpetual bond already, right? That's something that Arthur Hayes kind of popularized, but people have been talking about that for a while, I think. And it's just a really, really cool way to take a position on the markets. Certainly, we think it's a better way than using naked ETH or another, non-interest bearing asset.
Yeah, I can add to that also. You mentioned that the Lido rewards weren't starting till November 1st. I'm not sure which rewards you're referring to there. I bet that's for Lido specific rewards. What I was referring
Yes.
to were actually on the Premia pools. If anybody deposits liquidity into those pools, you will start to accumulate Lido rewards.
Yes. So
Okay.
I mean LDO governance token emissions, not um, the yield itself.
Okay, I should clarify because I think perhaps there's some conversation that's gone on with our teams behind the scenes.
Mm.
Essentially, how it's going to work is it will be an airdrop at the end of the month to
Mm.
anybody who provided liquidity into the pools of those LDO tokens, but it will be rewarded in the same exact way as the Premium liquidity mining rewards. So you'll know that if you have 10% of the pool over the month, you'll earn 10% of the Lido rewards that are given to that pool over the month. And the rewards that were provided by Lido are being split on Premium 50-50 between the call and put pools.
Perfect. That's way better.
And then, I did want to mention, some people aren't as familiar with options. And so I'll just, give a brief explanation of what people can do so they can understand, why this is useful to them as stake ETH holders. And so if you're not familiar, call options enable you to long an asset with higher capital efficiency than holding the spot asset. So a lot of the times you can, you know, put up 1/10 of the capital to get the same amount of exposure as you would have gotten in a spot market, but instead you get it in an option market. The difference being that each option has an expiration on it, and so you're making that bet or that investment for a certain amount of time, whereas in the spot market you're kind of managing that time all on your own. And then on the opposite side of things, if you're not looking to go long with call options, you can do the exact same thing with put options. And this is allowing you to go short with a lot more capital efficiency than you could do with, for example, lending from a lending market, the spot asset, and trying to get short in that way. So options are really a very efficient way to hedge your assets or get more exposure to them if you're looking for it. And we think, staked ETH is something that's gaining in demand and will continue to gain in demand. And as such, having liquid option markets is important to enable users to have capital efficiency for hedging and adding exposure, etc.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think options, especially, I feel like it's the average crypto degen is definitely like uh, out of most people's kind of like level of education, which is why I love like the pools idea and like just making sure the UI is like. I feel like options protocol is just like the best UI. You just have to, otherwise it's gonna make even less sense.
Yeah, that is definitely something that the options industry in DeFi has struggled with. I remember when we launched Premium V1, the most glaring feedback we got from almost all of our users were, we don't know how to price options and we don't know which options to trade. That's kind of a big problem if you're trying to get people to trade on an options exchange where you have to know pricing and which strikes maturities. And so the last year in DeFi, year and a half, has been a lot of educating users on how to utilize these options, both on the sell side with a lot of like DeFi option vaults, like you've seen with like Ribbon, Stake DAO, etc., and also on the buy side with protocols like Premia. And as well, we've seen a lot of, sort of vaults similar to Premia or Nox or Ribbon, etc., that enable users to sell options without having to, understand the pricing of it because it's done automatically by a pool or by some, auction mechanism, as in Nox's case, etc. And so I think, that's kind of the way DeFi has addressed this is first, teaching people the very easiest ways to use these, educating them on them, and then as more people kind of understand the primitive, more things will be built on top, and more users will kind of understand the benefits of them.
Totally makes sense. Yeah, no. I mean, I think especially with like integrations like this, it just brings more eyes to options protocols generally, especially because of like how much they're needed, frankly, in this space. Um, but yeah, we really appreciate you guys for coming on and you know participating in Lido's kind of launch on L2. Again, for those who want to participate, we linked the actual announcement that Premium made in the Twitter space above.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us, and thanks to Lido for partnering with us on this launch. We're very excited to have them on Arbitrum. Arbitrum is definitely one of our favorite chains, if not our favorite chain, and we're definitely looking to launch more there and continue to build on Arbitrum in the future. So very happy to be on this AMA.
Thanks for coming on, y'all. Appreciate y'all.
I don't really know how to
Thanks,
follow that
guys.
up. So yeah, thank you again for inviting us on and having us.
Just keep killing it. No need to follow it up. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
So I think with that, we can probably real quick maybe hit on maybe some upcoming integration slash announcements. Justin, if you have for Lido, and then maybe go to community questions after that.
Yeah. So the biggest thing, like I said before, is the launch of governance mining incentives on the curve pool. That I think is a big win for the Arbitrum ecosystem, and frankly, there are a lot of reasons why, from our side, having three liquidity sources, three different dexes with liquidity sources on a network are important to help us to enable future integrations. I don't want to pre-announce again integrations that are coming, but they are sort of publicly available on our research forum. If you do look at the rewards budget breakdown for November that's listed there, it is broken out by project. So you'll see names like Dopex and Mycelium and a whole bunch of others. And we expect all of those integrations to go live during the month of November. And it's certainly possible that other integrations will pop up as well.
Exciting stuff. Yes, no worries. I always try to squeeze as much off out as I can, but I'll just check the forum. It's fine.
I want to be sure that these teams have the opportunity to announce for themselves what they plan to do with us. But of course, we have to do everything transparently. So if we want to make LDO rewards available to them, they've got to be in the budget ahead of time.
So check out those research forums.
Yeah, and participate. Please participate. Tell us that what we're doing is stupid. Tell us that what we're doing is awesome. Tell us where you think we should apply incentives elsewhere. Make proposals on behalf of your DAO or project for partnerships. If you want to do that, you're probably best served DMing me first. But go ahead.
Definitely. I think maybe Hunter, now is a good time to get into the Q&A side of things.
Yes, totally. Yeah, just because I want to be mindful of the time here. I know we're coming up on the hour. Anyone who in the audience wants to come up and ask Justin from Lido any questions, feel free to come up. Or raise your hand and I'll bring you up. My bad.
Don't be shy.
All right, we got someone. Primal Key. You got the floor.
Oh, how you guys doing? I was rugging for a second, so I think you were saying I have the floor. So I was wondering if there'll ever be a time we'll be able to stake magic on Lido. I know you guys right now are doing stuff like Ethereum and Solana and the major coins, but in Arbitron system, magic kind of is a major coin.
Magic being the token for the treasure ecosystem, correct?
Correct.
Absolutely. So we have had conversations with the treasure team, and we certainly hope to have a variety of different types of integrations in the variety of sort of projects that Treasure has going on. I don't have anything that I can announce now, but if that's something that you want to see, as a member of that community, raise your hand and be vocal about it, and it might speed things along.
Great, appreciate it.
Yeah, we are really, really impressed with what Treasure has built so far, and obviously, a big part of that is a sort of tremendous community um, on the Arbitrum network. Lido has made a couple of attempts to penetrate sort of NFT dominated spaces within DeFi. It's no secret, I think, that in many cases, the NFT community and the DeFi community only have so much overlap, even though we all operate on the same sort of, same network, same fundamental principles, I think, and a lot of the same ideology. That being said, Arbitrum has really incubated, I think, in the Treasure ecosystem, one of the few places where DeFi and NFTs really do have significant crossover, and I think have attracted a lot of um, users that have that kind of crossover interest and deep knowledge on both sides, and building in kind of the gamified aspects makes it all the more compelling. So we're certainly really, really excited to see what integrations with Lido's ST assets looks like in that kind of context, because I think it'll be something that will be basically entirely novel across kind of Lido's DeFi and integrations and partnerships. Certainly nothing like that exists on mainnet, to the best of my knowledge.
Hey, Primal, are you more of like an NFT person or more of like a DeFi kind of person?
So I became more of an NFT person in the last, let's say, year. I mean, I got into DeFi in that DeFi summer, August of 2020. I do have a small brain. I actually think small brains are like the most underrated, unknown NFT out there, and I think a lot of it is because a lot of people haven't really discovered Magic and Arbitron yet. But once they do, it's going to explode.
The brains are going to explode. That's a fact.
Not so subtle plug. There you go. Small brains.
Awesome. Thanks for coming up, Primal.
Thanks.
All right. Anyone else have any cues? Feel free to raise your hand. I'll give it another minute or so, and if not, we can maybe end it off there.
Yeah, just checking here in the comments. Are there any comments or questions that people had? Emoji reactions. When people ask when Odyssey, Hunter.
Dang it. We're not supposed to amplify those questions. Soon.
soon, yeah.
Soon PM. Oh man, I think we can probably end it off there since we are coming up on the hour mark. Justin, just so there's you can give people a little more call to action here. For anyone who is in the community who wants to get involved with Lido, whether it be from a community perspective, governance perspective, or even like a contribution perspective, what's the best way for them to do that?
Join our Discord channel. You can find it on our website. It's relatively active. We try to keep it pretty information focused. So unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of entertaining kind of memeing going on. That's just not really the nature of our community. But if you want to keep up to date with information on what is going on all of the different networks that we support, that's a great place to start. We do a pretty amazing job, actually, I want to call it out, of publishing information that's created and resources that are created by our analytics team. We have probably, we feel, the best in class analytics team of any DAO, probably. You can find a lot of that information retweeted on our main Twitter account, which is Lido Finance. And I think we might actually have a Lido Analytical Finance as well, or Lido Analytical Twitter account. That might be worth following. Yeah, at Lido Analytical, I think. Or, you can go to dune.com and look up Lido Analytical. There are really fabulous resources available there. And soon we'll have dashboards related specifically to Arbitrum, and that's a great place to keep up to date with what's going on there. For my part, I will be trying to publish regular updates on Twitter of new integrations and opportunities to use Rapstake Teeth. So, feel free to follow me there. I'm not all that good about tweeting because in a past life, I did digital marketing strategy for a bunch of companies that I don't want to think about anymore. So I swore off Twitter, but here we are.
It all comes back around. Awesome. Well, Justin, we really appreciate you for coming on. Coming on today. I think we missed Keth or
Yeah. Yeah. I
it's fine.
apologize for that.
No worries. Premium team as well. Thank you guys for coming on. I know you guys are still here chilling, listening. But yeah, thanks everyone for coming. This is recorded, by the way. If you did come later on, no worries. You can just play it back and hear us answer the questions and maybe even sing a little tune in the beginning. I'm not sure if any of you heard that. But yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one.
Mana. Do, 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 do.
Oh, there it goes.
Mana. Do, do, do. Thanks for having us, guys.
Thanks for hosting us.
Have a good one, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.